It's another delicious day here in the Let's Make Food from Food Kitchen. Thanks for joining me today. We're gonna make some classic hamburger buns, okay? So I've got some unbleached flour here, and I've already weighed it. I'd weigh my flour, and I've talked about this before in the past. If you're new, welcome. Thanks for joining me. Hey, would you hit that subscribe button? I'd really appreciate it, or the like button, or both would be great. Thanks for joining me, and welcome back if you've been watching all along. Moving on. The scale in your kitchen, let me grab mine, when you're baking can be your best friend, okay? It can make sure that your measurements are consistent and accurate. There are some things that are more finicky when it comes to precise measurements. I weigh mine, it's 3.5 cups if you don't have a scale, 420 grams if you do have a scale. And now let's talk about the water. Because the water's warm water. I have an almost room temperature egg. My butter is a little more soft than it should be. It's warm right now. Which brings me to how much water you use. If you live somewhere humid like I do here in the Nashville area, it's humid, there's moisture in the air, so I'm not going to use as much water. I've got about 3/4 cup here. Now if you live somewhere like Phoenix, it's hot and dry, you might need a cup of warm water. Not hot, just warm. So gauge how much water you need based on where you live and the current season, because if it was winter time here and colder and drier, I would use a little bit more water, but I'm going to start with my 3/4 cup of warm water, okay? So I have my dough hook here. I'm not quite ready to put it on. What I want to do is get my dry ingredients in here. That was 1 tablespoon of instant yeast. Yes, I still prefer sourdough, but that's not what I'm making today. There is a recipe for a sourdough hamburger bun, and if you'd like, I can put that link down below. You can check that out, but you do need to have a sourdough starter going if that's what you want to make, and there's also a link on how to make that, though I should update it because I made that in my early days. Okay, so I'm just going to whisk those dry ingredients really quickly. It's not a must-do, it's just something I feel better about. Okay, now I add my wet ingredients. We are putting everything on the list except the toppings in my mixer, okay? 1 egg, and what I want to do, I'm going to put my butter in there. And then I'm going to crack my egg. And I like to do it this way just in case, because I'm human and I get eggshell in things once in a while. And I'd rather not have it in my burger bun. Like, that's the surprise prize, right? Hey, if you got the broken piece of eggshell in your bun, you win broken eggshell in your burger bun. Okay, so I'm gonna get that in there. Okay, and then I will attach my dough hook and mix this. I want a nice, soft, smooth dough. And I'm gonna mix this on a medium to a low for about 4 to 5 minutes and get a nice dough ball going. Now, something to note, if you notice that your dough ball isn't coming together quite like it should, add a tablespoon more of warm water, but just do a little bit at a time. If it's too sticky, add a tablespoon of flour. So that's how you make your adjustments, just a little tiny bit at a time. Small corrections. So I'll see you back here in a few. Okay, my dough ball is looking great. It is soft and supple. It's almost sticky, but not to a point where I am concerned about it. So this is my nice dough ball. So I'm going to put this in a bowl and I'm going to cover it up, and I want it to double in size. And now that I've said that, I'm going to get a bigger bowl. I'm going to go ahead and grease this bowl just a little bit. That was avocado oil. I don't want to add a whole bunch to it, but I don't want my dough to stick either. So just greased it a little bit. I'm going to cover this with plastic wrap. I'm going to put it in a warm draft-free place for 1 to 2 hours until I've seen that it has doubled in size, and then we'll move on. Okay, here we are. Our dough has at least doubled. It's really warm, so it did really well. Okay, so what I want to do is just kind of gently take it out, put it on my cutting board. Okay, I'm going to flatten it out and try to get it about the same size. Okay, I want to make 8 burger buns, so I need to try and get 8 equal-ish size pieces of dough. So I'm going to cut it lengthwise first. and just separate it a tiny bit. Okay, and then I'm going to cut off. Just do it this way. Okay. Now, my corner pieces are slightly smaller, but that's okay because I can just take a little bit of this and put it with that. So what I want to do is kind of just press these into about 3 inches round. I've already sprayed my parchment paper with a little bit of my avocado oil. Okay, and I'm going to space these out a little bit. These are going to rise again, so they'll rise somewhere for about an hour. We're going to let these rise. So and these are not going to be exactly perfectly the same for each of them, and that's part of the beauty of homemade, right? That's how you know. Plus, I think perfection is something that people try to attain, and it's setting yourself up for anxiety and stress, and why do that to yourself? It doesn't have to be perfect. No. It does need to be delicious if possible, though. I'll take delicious over pretty any day. If it tastes delicious but doesn't look good, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Totally fine. So these are going to rise for about an hour. You want to turn your oven on to preheat about 20 minutes before your hour is up to 375 degrees. And you're going to have a couple of tablespoons of melted butter. That's not melted yet, but it will be because I'm going to stick it on top of there, and that'll melt it as it sits there, preheating my oven. Optionally, you can also get like sesame seeds or poppy seeds, anything like that, if you want to top your buns with those. So cover those up, and I'll see you in an hour my time. My hour is passed. My oven's preheated, and I am ready to take this off. Look at this. They rose really nicely. And so now, if you are, well, let's do this step first. You're gonna take the butter and just brush it on the tops of each one, okay? And you only need to use about half of this, but be generous with it, because if you need to get more, you can, unless you ran out, in which case, quick, run to the store. Just kidding. So brushing this on the tops of each of these, it's gonna make it nice and golden and buttery delicious. When they rose, it's okay if they are touching each other now, because they will come apart after you've baked them. So it's not a big deal and nothing to worry about. Okay, I'm gonna stick these in the oven 15 to 18 minutes. Keep an eye on them. They'll start to turn a golden brown. Then we're gonna take them out and immediately brush them again with butter, and that's just gonna give them a nice, beautiful, finished look. So, see you in a few minutes. All right, I've got some nice golden hamburger buns. I'm gonna go ahead and put that final coating of butter, and I did forget to discuss if you were going to add like sesame seeds or poppy seeds to your buns. So what you need to do is take a couple of tablespoons of the type of seed you're going to use, and then a tablespoon or 2 of water, and put them, brush them onto your buns on top of the layer of butter, and that'll help them stick. And then just bake it the same way. And then you can still top them with butter. Just be careful when you're brushing it on if you do use the seeds when you brush the butter on the second time, because it will knock off your seeds if you're not careful and gentle. Now you do need to let them cool completely before you slice them open, otherwise you're going to crush. It's called crush your crumb. Basically, it's gonna smush down all those beautiful bubbles inside the buns that you've just baked. So let them cool completely on a rack before you cut them open, and you will be ready to go with 8 delicious classic style hamburger buns. So you can use these right away, and whatever you have left over, you can store them at room temperature, wrap them up well, put them in a zip top bag, or you can freeze them for later use. So those are your storage options if you happen to have any left over. These are cooled off now. I can cut them open and show you what they look like. Are you ready? Moment of truth. Oh, they look fabulous. Oh my gosh, they smell so good. Okay, so let's just take a little piece. Adding that butter at the end, perfect. So good. These are gonna be delicious. Thanks for joining me here today in the Let's Make Food from Food kitchen. From my kitchen to yours, let's make food from food. Crap story.
That's one boy puppy.